What's the good word? Boyo, next time you make it to the big VIP area upstairs, you watch out for those weapon-wielding gents out there. The eyeball soul thing that pops out when you beat them, you gotta squash those too, or else they'll grab their gear and come right back.
Crush the souls of Elysium's exalted shades to stop them from regenerating over and over. I'll definitely do that next time I'm there.
Hey folks, Tony Mo here, and today I want to sit down to talk quite a bit about my time with Hades. Hades is an action roguelike, and it is the latest game from the fine folks over at Supergiant Games, the same team that brought us Bastion, Transistor, and Pyre. Now, I really wanted to make this video for a couple reasons. Number one, I absolutely adore Hades. And number two, I absolutely adore Hades, but it's a roguelike? I've got a very love-hate relationship with roguelikes. I'm always attracted to them, but rarely do I want to spend more than 1 or 2 dates with them, if you know what I mean. I make it like 5 or 6 hours in, and I'm just like, the repetition settles in. I typically don't feel like there's any forward progression, even if I'm making small steps of actual progress. Building a truly replayable roguelike is not an easy thing to do, and some people, I think, just bounce off the genre because of the need to accept that repetition that's going to happen as you make that forward progress, sort of one step, one death, one restart at a time. It's not to say that there haven't been roguelikes that I think have honed this concept a little bit better than others, but it's a very small number for me personally, and I can count on one hand the number of roguelikes I've truly enjoyed. Games like Dead Cells, Spelunky, Risk of Rain, and now Hades. The thing about Hades, though, is that it's doing a lot more than most roguelikes do. And Supergiant, in a very Supergiant way, has added an additional loop to the overall gameplay experience, and that is the game's narrative. So typically in a roguelike, you're making some sort of gameplay progress, mechanical progress, if you will. Each and every time you push a little bit further, you might gain access to additional rewards. In the case of a game like Dead Cells, you might unlock improvements to your character, chances to get certain weapons in your drop pool, increases to your health flask, things that are going to make the next run maybe a little bit easier, or at least increase the chance of you getting something really good that could really help you power through that run. And again, every game, every roguelike has tried to handle this in different ways. Hades very much has its own gameplay progression loop, and it's a very, very deep one, but the narrative is really the thing for me that I think does the most to remove that sense of repetition. Even 10 hours in, I've yet to hit a point where I really feel like, oh, here we go again, I died, let's start a fresh run. And in Hades, you can have like 40-minute runs on average, especially if you're like a kind of casual player like I am. I'm not very good at these sorts of games, so I'm not blasting through them very quickly. I'm not very efficient. 40 minutes is where I sit currently. That's getting me to like the 4th boss in the game at this point. And then I die, and I start over again. And I'm always really excited to go on another run. But I think more importantly, I'm actually kind of looking forward to dying, because when you get back to the underworld, you get to continue to forge and experience relationships. And this is the really powerful part of Hades, this narrative that is constantly reacting to the things you do as the player as Zagreus. You're having interactions with your father, Hades. You're having interactions with your good friend, Achilles. You're interacting with Meg, an individual you're actually engaging in combat with throughout the course of the game. You're coming back and talking with her. And it all is presented in such a seamless fashion. It never feels gamey. It never feels like, I'm playing a roguelike. Everybody just accepts the fact that I die. No, you're Zagreus. You're the son of Hades. You can't die. You're just, torturing yourself in an attempt to crawl out of the underworld. And everybody acknowledges this. And they even acknowledge some of the issues that you might be creating by attempting to do this. The whole world acknowledges what you are doing, and at the same time are going through their own little quarrels and struggles, and you get to interact with that and see those things happen. So when you come back from a run in Hades and you crawl out of that blood and walk your way once again up to the big man, you get a new narrative beat. It's never the same thing. There's never any real repetition. In fact, I might wander over to talk to Achilles and find out he's not there. He hasn't been there for the last couple runs. Zagreus acknowledges that, Achilles is still gone away. You know, and then when he comes back, it's like, oh, hey, look what I found. And I might have found an item in the game that now I get a little bit of narrative structure from. Okay, Achilles is going to tell me about this item and, you know, the things it might be able to do. And, oh, you know, wield that with respect and such. Like, and that concept, right, of coming back and having the world react to you and having the narrative expand, it's everywhere. It is literally everywhere. And probably one of my favorite moments was the realization that the weapons I was acquiring are weapons that were sort of locked away in the underworld. And I'm discovering them. I'm pulling them out, and people are acknowledging their existence and being like, oh, whoa, what are you doing with the rail? You got the adamant rail? How'd you get that? You know, Meg calls you out on it when you interact with her in combat for the first time. And even as you learn to upgrade the weapons and add different skills and abilities to them that make them perform differently, people acknowledge this. Again, everything folds back in on the narrative in such a beautiful and wonderful way. And there's this really awesome sense of familiarity that starts to get established. Like, you as the player are suddenly less and less interested in getting out of the underworld. Like, of course you're still going to do it because you want to know what's out there, and it's a part of Zagreus' quest, but suddenly you're kind of like, why would I want to leave these people? They clearly care about me, and I clearly care about them. And it's a really fucking emotional thing. And I think it says a lot that while I was recording this video over the last week, I'm legitimately getting emotional talking about this. There's a lot of people talking about this game in the same way. I think rarely have I seen a game like Hades make everyone feel kind of the same thing at the same time. And I think a lot of this has to do with the time and place that we're in right now, obviously. Life is very much about routine and about repetition, and the people that we choose to share that repetition with. The people we choose to have these long-standing, repetitive relationships with. The people that were totally cool with sharing the same boring shit from our days, day in and out with. The people that make that boring, repetitive shit a lot less boring. And that might even make it enjoyable and fun and satisfying and caring and so many other emotions that we seek out as human beings. This game totally channels that. It totally portrays that. And it's just a fucking roguelike, dude. It's just like, Hades is very special to me, and I think it's going to be very special to so many people for this reason. And I could like go on and I could talk about all the gameplay mechanics, and they're all so wonderful. This is a game that I just want to keep playing, but that narrative structure is so special. And I think if you play Hades, there's just no way around it. Like, you're going to come to the same conclusion that so many people are right now about the way that the narrative and the characters are presented. I've like never wanted to play a roguelike more just for the sake of progressing the story and the relationships that I've already established in the last 10 hours. And the game introduces new characters. It's not like it's just the same three people. You'll even be introduced to these new characters with their own, their own situations, if you will. You'll find powerful gods and goddesses just out in the underworld, just coping, just getting along, existing, finding the way that they can best find to make it through life as happily as they can, and with their own, as much of their own purpose as they can. And that's just life. Like, it's I don't even know what else to say about it. I don't think there's anything else that needs to be said about it. Hades is a very special game. It's a very special roguelike, and it might just be one of the best games I've ever played, because Supergiant decided to do the Supergiant thing and not just make a roguelike, but to take all of their experience from making action games, isometric action games, and to take that into the roguelike genre and say, well, we can't make a Supergiant Games game without narrative and character and wonderful writing and emotional writing. And then they went and did that, and they did it really well. I can't recommend this game enough. Like, if there's one thing you play, especially if you are a fan of roguelikes, isometric action RPGs, make it Hades. It's available on Steam, Epic Games Store, I think on all the consoles right now. I'll have some links down in the description below for it. And that's it. I've never made a video for a game where I just like wasn't even interested in talking about everything else. There's plenty of great reviews out there that are going to break down all the wonderful mechanics of the game and the gameplay stuff. Just know that it is incredibly varied. The narrative can even, if you choose to allow it to, influence the way that like tile sets and chambers are randomized and the way they're built out. There's so much of the game that just turns back in on itself, if you will, both from the gameplay structure perspective, from the narrative structure. The music is incredible. The entire audiovisual presentation is top fucking tier. Go play Hades. And let me give a huge shout out to some folks who help me get by every day. All of you wonderful supporters over on Patreon. Thank you so much for everything you do for me in terms of just hanging out on my Discord, showing up at streams, supporting me monetarily each and every month. If you'd like to become a part of the Patreon program, you can click the link down in the description or the pinned comment below. Starting at just $1, you'll get access to early ad-free versions of videos just like this one before anybody else. You also get access to my private Discord, as well as regular behind-the-scenes updates from me over on Patreon. Everything I'm working on, games I'm playing, videos that I might be working on that might even not see the light of day, you get to hear about them. You get to hear me talk about them each and every week. Stay awesome. Be awesome to one another. Take care of yourselves and take care of those around you. And I will see you all in the next one.